Greetings. Welcome, sharps, newbies, and squares. It's yet another edition of Play On with Jorey and Harley. I'm your host, Jorey Middlestat. The other, much more clean-shaven, as always on Thursdays, is my co-host, Harley Redlick, otherwise known as the Professional, because he is indeed a professional gambler. As always, we're powered by PointsBet, the official sports book of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which of course includes the red-hot Toronto Maple Leafs, Grey Cup champion Toronto Argos, and the Raptors, who got smoked last night, but
they won a couple games before that, right?
They did, but they got smoked last night in New Orleans.
They're injured and they're competing. They're pretty good and gritty.
PointsBet is also the official sports book of NBC, south of the border, and so much more. It's an NFL Week 13, and we'll call it a World Cup Soccer edition. I don't know how much you have to say about the World Cup.
I have some World Cup. College football championship weekend. Friday night is important, and Saturday. We'll discuss it with Teddy, who will be on the show.
Okay.
I want to do your job.
To me.
PointsBet wants you to
take over.
PointsBet wants you to gamble.
Not yet. You just let me do the housekeeping.
Do your thing.
Stay in your lane, as they say.
Deal.
We're with you each and every Thursday live from the Bottom Line on Front Street in downtown Toronto, literally right beside the Hockey Hall of Fame, and Harley's go-to spot for wings and a whole lot more. We had a good meal here last week, and neither of us had wings.
Steak. I had a steak.
You had a steak. I had a steak sandwich. All was good.
Yeah.
It was excellent. So come down, say hi. We start this show around 5:10 Eastern each and every Thursday. Enjoy the wings, the drinks, the great atmosphere. Great spot to be before the game, during the game, and after the game. As I mentioned, we'll talk Week 13 of the NFL, look at the World Cup. Oh, and look what I wrote. Certainly a little bit on the college football championship weekend, as the conference championships will take place this weekend. We'll also be joined, they're back. Both of our regulars will return this week, neither live, both where we have to pop in the headphones, but Corey Travers, the head trader at PointsBet Canada, will be along for his weekly visit, and Teddy Greenstein, senior editor and player development manager for PointsBet USA, and the head dude at the Hustle newsletter, will both be back with us this week. We sometimes have a gambling story of the week, and Harley tells me that we do each week. I have something I want to talk about from a betting perspective that occurred last week. I know it's Thursday. I know it's not a new story, but it's definitely worth discussing.
I got 3 gambling tidbits to share later, but they're short stories.
Very short. That'll be good. How do we get in touch with us? Comments, questions, feedback. Tell us we suck. We don't know what we're talking about. Tell us we're great. Any and all of the above are welcome. You can hit us up on Twitter, the new Twitter, which I'm not so sure is as good as the old Twitter, but that's another conversation for another time. I'm at Jorey Middle, Jorey is how you spell the first half. I'll spot you the middle. Harley is at Sharp Edge Picks. You can also email us, playon@pointsbet.ca. Before we get to your gambling tidbits, the betting story I want to talk about, first order of business, as always, once I get through the housekeeping duties, picks from last week and where we stand.
So I entered the week down 0.38 units, had a strong week. I lost that quarter of a unit bet on the live betting when the Cowboys threw the interception.
You should have won. And then, you had two chances. First the penalty and then the interception.
It looked like a field goal.
Yes.
I won 1.05 units on my same game parlay as Cousins and the Vikings bounced back strong after Dallas shellacked them. Then I won 1.05 units on under in England, USA. 0-0 scores is like as good as an under gets. I won another unit on under in Broncos Panthers, another low-scoring snooze fest. That Denver offense is one of the most pathetic things I have ever seen. Finally, I lost 1.1 units on the Colts on Monday Night Football. They were kind of in the game.
They were in the game, but
they were clearly the weaker team.
Yeah.
Bad read by me. Net, I won 2.8 units for the week. I'm now up 2.42 units since we started the podcast Play On, powered by PointsBet way back in August.
And as we like to point out each and every week, I think last week you said you figure as of last week, you'd made about 60 plays on the show, which now you had about another 5. So we're in and around 65 plays, and you've never been up or down more than like a unit and a half. And now I think you may be at your high water mark. I think you might have been up about 3
maybe.
at one
I'm
point.
at about a 3-4% margin, which is good as anybody could hope for in this grind.
Point being, you've never bet more than one single unit or, with the VIG on any single game. And so this is about responsible gambling. And along those lines, PointsBet wants you to enjoy your gambling experience. But if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call the Connex Ontario helpline. I'll say it slow. 1-866-531-2600, or message PointsBet's amazing customer support, and they will definitely help you personally. So we were going to get into the gambling tidbits and my story from last Sunday as it related to the Bears quarterback situation. But our fine producer, Jordan, has just given us the signal that Teddy is aboard. So we're going to pop in the headphones. There we go. And say a happy week after Thanksgiving to Teddy Greenstein, the senior editor and player development manager for PointsBet USA and the head honcho at the Hustle newsletter, which we just got into our inbox a short while ago for today. Good day, Teddy. Have you recovered from Thanksgiving?
I have recovered, guys, and Harley sounds a little bit like Kanish from my favorite movie, Rounders. He's just like grinding out that rent money. Small margins, but it's good that he's on the positive side. Pretty soon he'll be approaching my levels,
That's what I aspire to, Teddy. How was U.S.-Iran? Good times south of the border?
U.S.-Iran, I wish I'd been able to witness it. It was actually a great time. That's been my best soccer bet thus far because I had 1-0 as a final score at plus 600. Yeah, I bet it right after the England match, right after I was talking to my friend who's Iranian and was telling me all about that team and that they're very defensive-minded. And obviously we knew they only needed a draw, so they were going to have 8, 9, 10 guys back on defense. So I'm like, I'm going to bet on the USA. So, then it's just a question of what, and then go ahead and bet on the 1-0. And obviously there were a lot of moments where it almost became 1-1 or even 2-0. But that was a great one, and I cannot wait for Saturday.
So go ahead, Harley.
I was going to say, so Saturday, the U.S. is plus 335 to win, plus 185 to advance. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of those where I'm going to do the combination of draw or victory. I think it's minus 110. I'll certainly also splash on the money line. I think you can justify it. I think the gap between these two teams, these two countries, isn't as great as the odds would indicate. So I certainly, I certainly wouldn't be betting on the USA if it was like plus 150, but at plus 330 or plus 340, I think you can take a shot that we get a little lucky and win 1-0 or 2-1.
All right, you froze there for a sec, but I think we got it. No, you're back. You're back.
Okay.
So
I was just going to say, I don't think the gap is so great that
right.
I think you can justify splashing down here a little bit on the USA at plus 330 or plus 340, but I'm also going to play it a little safer and do a combination of draw and win in case it goes into extras and USA takes it then.
So Harley jumped in before I could sort of ask my World Cup general question, which was, and you've sort of answered, watching and wagering or just watching? But you've answered that question. You're watching and you're wagering.
Oh, yeah.
So is there anything else you're looking forward to either as is there one more day of group?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow's the last day of group. Anything for tomorrow or looking ahead to the round of 16, obviously, aside from U.S. Netherlands?
I really just bet the morning of. Today I went 1 for 2. Of course, I supported Canada and my entire in-laws, so I lost on that one. I had win or draw, but I did win on Costa Rica and Germany, each to score at least one goal at plus 185. So I don't think too far ahead. For NFL and college, maybe I'll go 2 days ahead, but for World Cup, I'm pretty much scrambling that morning.
Well, you're going to have to go a day or two ahead because next up is college football conference championship weekend. I wouldn't say there's a lot of really good matchups, but they obviously have huge, huge incentive for a lot of the teams if they want to make their way into the 14 playoff, which I understand in a couple of years or 3 years is now going to go to 12.
Yeah.
They skipped right over the 8 and went to 12.
Crazy what they're doing. With
I could do an hour-long show on this because college football is my wheelhouse, and how it went from no playoff to the BCS to 4, and the people who are opposed to a playoff opposed it for this very reason. Because, look, 12 is going to be fun for a lot of reasons, assuming they'll have the early rounds on campus, because it's so rare that SEC teams go to places like Ann Arbor or Columbus or Madison. So there's the potential for that on campus. Is much more fun than at these bowl sites. But you're also now, you're really potentially harming the regular season. I mean, even in a case like this, like if USC loses in the Pac-12 championship game to Utah, and then we are assuming that Ohio State gets a spot, like Ohio State doesn't deserve to be in the playoff this year. They got ran off their own field by Michigan. Ohio State embarrassed itself in the second half. So really, even 4 teams would deserve it. So I think the college football fans are rooting for USC and rooting for TCU, because clearly if SC wins and TCU wins, then we have a playoff with 4 legitimate contenders.
We lost you there.
We
lost you there for about 7 seconds. So just recap, you were saying, everybody wants TCU, everybody wants USC, and then we lost you.
I mean, we even have a market up odds to make the playoff, and people would be shocked, I think, to learn that we have Ohio State at minus 150 to make the playoff, because you would have thought at the moment that they lost to Michigan last week that it was over. But our guys believe that, Utah has a great chance to upset USC, and there's a slight chance that if TCU loses, the Horned Frogs are out.
That would make some sense because of the strength of schedule, and we don't want to get too deep into the weeds. So, having said that, is there anything you like for this weekend when it comes to the conference championships?
Yeah, I'm going to bet the over in the SEC game of LSU and Georgia, which is 52.5. I mean, these are high-powered offenses in this series. The over is hit, I think, 7 of the last 9 I put in the hustle, and this is a fast track. You put these great athletes indoors in a dome, and I think you can see, Georgia scoring 34-37 on its own. And then, it's interesting. I wanted to back Purdue and take 17 against Michigan just because of the spot. But the more I read about this game, Purdue really is just a contender. And even Michigan, even if Michigan is, dull in the first quarter or dull in the first half, I think in the end, the Wolverines have enough big play capability. J.J. McCarthy is feeling fantastic after hitting all those big plays last week, that Michigan should end up scoring, 37 maybe and winning this game like 37-10.
And that's even without Blake Corum, who it was announced today is done for the year. And he didn't really play in the Ohio State game anyway. And I'm blanking on their backup running back, but Edwards, he was pretty darn good.
He was great. I mean, that offensive line just 2 years in a row, man, they owned Ohio State in the second half of those games.
Yeah. All right, let's switch our focus to the NFL. Pretty good Thursday nighter because we've had some duds. Bills at Pats. I was looking at the weather, which, we're into December now. And I think if you're a handicapper and or just a casual bettor, when it comes to the NFL, you should be looking at the weather, especially if you're going to bet totals. So let me just look. The line has gone to Buffalo 3.5. It opened a lot higher.
Yes.
Last night it was 4. Now it's 3.5. Total still at 43.5. Apparently it's going to be chilly, but not freezing, and could be a little breezy in the first half with the winds dissipating. That's my latest work as a meteorologist. Thoughts on tonight's game?
Well, good use of dissipating. That's not a word I normally hear in sports podcasts. So nicely done there. And when you think about Mac Jones, I will forever think about last year when he played in a snowstorm, and I think he attempted about 2 passes. And so if you were points betting the under on his passing yards, you got rich. So you always have to think.
That was the wind game. Remember,
Yes.
It wasn't snow. It was the wind game
Good
in
call.
Buffalo. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Patriots threw like 7 passes the whole
I
game,
think
or
zero.
not even.
I think they threw 0 passes.
Was it
or
0?
3
It was
I
a
was gonna say
ridiculous. Yeah, or maybe it
2.
was 2. Yeah, it was some ridiculous number.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Not at all. So I'm looking at the numbers. Very interesting here. Bet count 74% on the Bills. Spread handle dead even. So what does that mean? That means the public is on the Bills.
Yep.
The sharps are on New England. I am a Jets fan. I cannot bet New England, but I also cannot bet Buffalo. Simply cannot do it. Can't justify being on the Bills side. So my recommendation in the hustle was first half line plus a half a point on New England at plus 115.
And no thoughts on the total. It's not a big number. Mac Jones and the Pat offense awoke last week, even though they fell last Thursday night at Mini. But, one of their better performances of the season. And what's interesting, the Buffalo defense is not what it was, mainly because of injury.
Right. Von Miller,
and now no Von Miller tonight, although he may be back next week. But like every Buffalo game's going under the total.
Yes.
It's crazy. So
take
that for what it's
whoever
worth.
wants to be on the side of the quote unquote smart money or the sharp money, jump on that under, because tickets 66% over, handle 43% over. So the money is going on the under. If I were to make a play there, obviously it would be on the under. We know about primetime games. We know about Thursday night games. They tend to go under. But I don't feel great about that. Mac Jones has actually looked better lately. He was, decent on Thanksgiving. And, Josh Allen's just such a wild card. 43.5 is not a big number. But certainly the quote-unquote smart play is the under tonight.
And I will add that, Buffalo hasn't punted in the last 2 games against New England. They have owned the New England defense, just as another little factoid to throw into the mix. Before we let you go, what do we need to know that was in today's hustle? I had a quick read, but I'm going to let you plug and tell us what your cohorts there were picking and what we need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some previews. We have information about free bet drops for all of our clients. John Eimer, who's a really good soccer handicapper, what I've been having him do is if I had 100 free bets, what he would be putting it on for every USA soccer match. And his big play is under 2.5 goals for USA Netherlands. Now, this is a popular one, minus 160, so a lot of juice there.
Yeah, you got to lay a lot of vig on that one. It's expected to come in over 60% of the time with that kind of vig.
Exactly. I also have an explanation about soccer betting for all of our readers because, look, there are going to be a lot of people who bet on Netherlands or USA, and maybe it goes to extra time, and if one side wins, they're going to expect that's a winning ticket, and it's not going to be a winning ticket. So people have to be cognizant of that. That's why we're offering the bet to qualify for the quarterfinals. Netherlands minus 225, USA plus 185. Much simpler.
Yeah, because it's always 3-way betting with regulation time, and especially when it's a win or go home game where they could go to penalties. Got it.
Exactly.
Thanks for clarifying. Teddy, great to talk to you again. Hopefully we'll do so again next week.
Sounds awesome. Have a great night, guys. See you.
Thanks, Teddy Greenstein.
Thanks, Teddy.
Joining us each and every week. And just in case you didn't know, he's the senior editor and player development manager for PointsBet USA and the head dude at the Hustle newsletter, which if you're listening to us in the U.S., you're in a state where you can open a PointsBet account. You'll get the Hustle, and it's good. It's short. It's got good information. We've enjoyed reading it. All right, let's now get to where we were going, Harley. I'll throw to you first for your gambling story tidbits of the week.
Okay, so we got 3 to discuss quickly. Let's see, where are we here? We talked last week about how I thought Ontario casino sportsbooks could be a potential haven for money laundering.
The kiosks, right. Anonymous, right?
The whole anonymity. Well, the Attorney General scolded casinos in Ontario yesterday, saying they should improve safeguards for anti-money laundering. Didn't discuss the kiosks per se. I'm guessing they don't even know about them, although they talked about people coming in and out and betting or cash and chips, etc. This would have been an even easier route to go by. So I guess if you want to tune into the news, you listen to us, and then a week later it becomes the news. So
If it's gambling related, good chance.
that was number one. Number two, the AGCO announced that they are shutting down or forcing all operators, so PointsBet and everybody else, to shut down all UFC betting.
I saw that today. That just came out today. Yeah.
Today, because of allegations of insider betting. The allegations have been going on for a couple weeks. Of course, you can still bet UFC in most other jurisdictions like Nevada, New Jersey, and most other places. There's speculation in Ontario, obviously, that'll lead UFC bettors back to the black market. So it is what it is. That's what the AGCO or IGO, or I'm not sure exactly who's kind of makes the recommendations, decided to go.
All right. Was there a third?
There is a third. It's an irresponsible gambling talk story from Rogers. It's a couple weeks ago, but we've been busy, and I really wanted to bring it up. So Rogers' Twitter handle is SNBets. And a couple weeks ago, they were asking people for their locks of the night. I'm sure they did it in a cute fashion or a tongue-in-cheek or whatever BS excuse. Whoever did it for, if they're ever held accountable by their boss's boss, who actually maybe understands is promoting irresponsible gambling.
Right. Because, just to clarify, right, there is no such thing.
There are no locks. Whatever idiot that wrote it, I'm sure was just trying to be cute.
Right.
Obviously, if he thought he had a lock, he wouldn't be making, I don't know what social media streamers and tweeters make, but they could make a hell of a lot more gambling if it was just free money. So clearly they don't believe in it. It's irresponsible talk, especially from a corporation as big as Rogers. They need to educate their people. They're taking millions and millions of dollars in advertising revenue from the big honchos. DraftKings and FanDuel are writing them almost unlimited checks for advertising space. And then they run ads on Gamble Responsibly, yet their own Twitter is suggesting there are locks in betting. Come on, Rogers, do better.
That's a good one. I'm glad you pointed that out. And yes, people, newbies, casuals, squares. I don't have to tell the sharps. There is no such thing as a lock, right? Let's just make that crystal clear.
Correct. Germany, people thought we're going to win the tourney.
There's just no such
Spain
thing.
to get a point today. That's just two examples today.
Apparently Corey's with us, but he's got to hold on. He's early. All right, so tell Corey to just hold his horses. I do want to talk about one other thing before we get. I was going to do a little World Cup talk, but we did some with Teddy, and we're running a little behind. There was a really serious gambling situation last Sunday with the Chicago Bears and their quarterback situation.
On the subject of irresponsible social media, yes.
So let me just, it requires a little bit of background. I know it's Thursday. It's been talked about, but if you haven't seen the story.
You still need to understand what's going on.
So last week, the Bears were playing at the Jets, okay? And Justin Fields was injured. His situation was tenuous as to whether or not he was going to play. Starting earlier in the week, it was unknown. So the line opened Jets -4.5. Then I believe it was Tuesday, Zach Wilson, the starting quarterback for the Jets, gets benched.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to start. At that point, I don't even know if we knew that he was not even going to dress, okay? The line doesn't move.
No, because Zach Wilson gets exactly 0 credits.
Now, later in the week, Thursday, Friday, word starts to come out that it looks like Fields is not going to play. The line goes to the Jets -7. And as soon as the news started to trickle out, everybody's betting the Jets. Okay? The bettors hammered the Jets. At 12:11 p.m. on Sunday, the game kicks off at 1. We're talking Eastern. The Bears' own Twitter account sends out a tweet that Nathan Peterman would start because Trevor Siemian hurt himself in warm-up. People start pounding the Jets. It goes to 7.5. 5 minutes now, okay? Follow the timeline. 5 minutes before kickoff, they say that it's going to be a game-time decision as to who will start, Siemian or Peterman. And for those who don't know, Nathan Peterman has had some of the absolute worst performances in the history of football when he has played. Remember in Buffalo, he threw like 4 picks and a half. Like, okay? So again, everybody was betting the Jets. Then 5 minutes before, it may be Simeon now, or it may be Peterman. So obviously, the people who are hammering the Jets are not very happy when then who walks out to start? But Trevor Simeon. So, easy question to you is, how should the books have handled that, if at all?
There's nothing the books can do. I mean, they're feeding off the information they're getting from the public. This
came right from the
I
Bears.
I get it. That's part of the public consumption and the public domain of information. The truth is, even the Bears didn't really screw up there. The Bears almost got too ahead of their own story. Guy hurts himself. The coach says, Peterman will start. They thought, we'll be prudent and announce it. Then maybe a few minutes later, Simeon's like, maybe I'm okay. They're like, we don't know what's going on. It happens. That's betting. I mean, the unfortunate part of betting, and I try to explain this to league offices and communications companies, and they don't seem to get it. They're like, well, what's the difference? It works out, or it evens out, or there's Jets bettors and Bears bettors. The truth is that if you would have gotten screwed on this bet,
the Jets ended up winning and
so
covering.
It didn't matter.
Right.
But had you gotten screwed with the Jets bet, you'd be crying about it for a month. And had you got lucky on it, you would have forgotten about it an hour later. And that's the gambling psyche that leads to them crying that every NBA game is fixed and everything else. The leagues have to try to do better. The announcers have to try to do better.
Right? I'm sure a memorandum went out to say, guys,
social media maybe don't. But on the flip side,
Bears were doing the right thing in their mind.
Right, Bears, but here's the other thing. What if the Bears don't tweet it out, but other people see what's going on? Maybe it's on the field and
in
then
warm-ups.
And then they start betting it, and it's almost like insider information. So you're beating them to the market. I think the Bears tried to be transparent, and they got caught in this one. Yeah.
Okay. Corey's not back with us yet. Oh, he's still there? All right. So normally we do a little bit of
let's talk
NFL.
to Corey, and then we
usually do the 1 and the 4s and the
Sure.
prime times. Then Corey, then tonight's game. But we'll switch it up because Corey's ready to go. And I know there's lots of action right now at the PointsBet offices, which had their official opening in downtown TO today. And there's a bit of a party. And obviously we couldn't be there because we're doing this.
Let's ask Corey. How's the party, Corey?
So Corey Travers, the head trader at PointsBet Canada, is with us for his weekly visit, this time on the phone. Usually he's with us live. How goes the potty?
It seems like it's going well. I'm here at my desk just trying to make sure not too many arbors come. But, everyone's having a good time downstairs. Can you hear the music?
We can hear it a little bit.
We can hear some muffled stuff going on in the background.
All right, so we got a lot to cover, Corey. First, let's talk Name a Bet. I don't remember what happened with last week's Name a Bet. Do you?
We didn't talk about it because we were rushed and Thanksgiving.
We were rushed, right?
Corey,
so we let it go. All right. So
I gave it to you guys zero time before the show. That's
no
right. Yep.
No
no problem. We knew you had a lot going on last week.
But it happens again, and you're fucking fired.
Can we fire him?
I
don't think so.
I don't think he got that bad. Maybe Jordan.
All right,
did.
so let's get to this week's Name a Bet. Harley gave you another cross-sport special. Why don't you tell everybody what it is, and then Corey can tell us the line.
Okay, so I gave Brazil goals yesterday versus LSU touchdowns against Georgia Saturday. What would be higher?
Yeah, so we got Brazil goals is the favorite here. I had them in for about 2.1 as the midpoint line. So that's a minus 130, and then
he scored 2, right?
No, it's the
it still hasn't gone.
this coming week.
It's for the coming game.
Yeah, it's Friday. It's
tomorrow's
game.
Tomorrow's game. Sorry. Yeah. Okay,
and what do you have LSU at? Just under
LSU,
2 touchdowns.
Just under 2 at about 1.85. So we have them at plus 100 on the line.
Yeah, that makes sense because Georgia's defense is tremendous, and LSU is not known for their offense per se. So Brazil being a decent-sized favorite makes some sense. Now, Brazil doesn't need the game, right? So how does that factor into when you're setting that line, right? Because they're already through to the next round.
Yeah, they are already through,
games.
but they're a championship contender. I think they're going to still be playing hard, and I mean the line kind of is the line. I don't think Brazil is going to have any trouble with a what do you call it? Any kind of, I don't know, motivation issues. They're at the World Cup.
Okay, good point. Now, did you hear our little discussion about the Bears QB situation last week?
I did. I caught that, and I was also just kind of having flashbacks from last Sunday listening to it.
So tell us about how you handled that situation and what was it like for you as a head trader in trying to move the number?
Yeah, so moving the number, honestly, you hear that like, oh my God, we got a quarterback replacement, and often that's a big deal. I think the line moved about half a point. It went from 7 to 7.5 when it was supposed to be Peterman, and then it ended up just being Simeon anyway. Obviously, like Nathan Peterman, not a good quarterback, but neither are really good options. So it's not like Justin Fields had been in, and then all of a sudden it's Peterman, because then the line's moving significantly. But in this case, we're pulling props, and then we're trying to get them up as quickly as we can. But the issue was we didn't really know, because it was an apparent injury. Once Simeon was announced to be the guy again, it's like, well, is he going to play the whole game, or is he going to give it 2 drives and decide that he's not healthy enough to play? So we ended up just leaving props down for the quarterbacks in that game. But yeah, the line moved about half a point. Overall, it was one of those situations that probably felt a little bit more stressful than it ended up being, because it wasn't like a huge disparity in talent between the 2 possible quarterbacks in that game. But yeah, there was a lot of factors at play.
Did you get hammered with jet money?
We did. We got a lot of bets in, but we moved the line a little bit, and then realized that everyone else was kind of moving the line about the same. No one overreacted and moved it to 10 or anything like that.
All right, let's talk, as we always do, about tonight's game. And this line has been going down. I want to say, I don't know, where did you open this one? Because I think I read that it was as high as 5.5 or 6.
I believe it was 5.5. I don't know if we ever had it open at 6.
Right.
But so it's down to 3.5 now.
Right. So what, again, is that sharp money, public money? Because you would think a lot of the public money, especially given how Buffalo has handled New England the last couple times out. They haven't punted in the last 2 games, one of them being a playoff game. You'd think the public would be on the Bills, but is the public on the Bills, and you have a lot of sharp action on the Patriots? Yeah,
I'll tell you, the public is not on the Patriots. It is it's a little bit more sharp money. I mean, that's earlier in the week. It's kind of calmed down now, obviously, now the line's moved.
Right.
I think weather might be a bit of a factor here. It's obviously the Thursday night games have in general been a little sloppy, so that I feel like when the weather's a factor, when the game's sloppier, that kind of evens out. Like the talent disparity between the Bills and the Patriots on offense gets mitigated quite a bit. So that's probably what's at play here. But no, in terms of public money, especially locally, but even in other jurisdictions as well, it's all Bills.
All right, and then looking ahead to Sunday/Monday night, a lot of quarterback questions on several fronts. So, are all the lines up? Do you have any that are notable? And are you getting, one-sided money anywhere?
So right now, I guess we'll start with maybe the Monday nighter. We got the Saints-Bucks game. As far as betting splits there, we do have more money on the Bucks. That's not really, I wouldn't say that has that much to do with, that's not a surprise. I mean, the Bucks are always going to take more money than the Saints. At least this iteration of the Bucks is just kind of a more of a public team, right? And then, so looking at the Sunday nighter, the Colts Cowboys game, it's kind of another one of those situations where money wise, we're seeing a lot of early stuff on the Cowboys. Now, remember, a lot of bets aren't in for these. This is not as accurate as the Thursday night game that kicks off in a little over 2 hours. But yeah, I mean, it's early Cowboys money. Makes sense in terms of people always have a hard time betting against a team that is, a significantly better team. It's 10.5 points, but people probably feel like it may as well be 20 points. And then in addition to that, the Cowboys are always the Cowboys.
Yep, and they got backdoored last Thursday very late. And so when you're laying double digits, the backdoor generally always seems to be open. One last thing, we haven't talked World Cup, Corey. So, how has the action been? Has it met, exceeded, or below expectations for you guys?
I would say, like, I don't know exactly what our expectations were going in, but I would say it's exceeded my expectations in that the Canada games were really, really popular. I mean, they were about as popular as like a big Raptors game. I mean, there's plenty of Raptors games that haven't been on that level. And people might think that's surprising that like World Cup games are only on the level of like a high-profile NBA game. But I think like as far as what we see, like the NBA and the NFL are head and shoulders above everything else for handle. So when we see events that are rivaling it, like that's very impressive. Obviously, the non-Canada games, they aren't quite on that level. But one thing we do see with the World Cup, and this is Canada first and foremost, but the other games to a certain extent as well, is we see a lot of casuals on for smaller stakes. So we may not see quite the same turnover numbers that we'll see in like an NFL game, but we'll often see more unique bettors or total bets as well, just because a lot of people who aren't huge bettors might come on and just throw $10 on a World Cup game because they're watching it.
And aside from Canada, are certain countries or groups seeing more action than others?
In general, I'd say it's just, your favorites, Brazil, France. I mean, PointsBet operates in Australia, so that's very big. Also, obviously, we're open in, I think, 11 or 12 jurisdictions now in the U.S., so U.S. moving on from group play is very big for them. Obviously, here, we've seen a little bit of a downturn. I think since Canada got eliminated, there was the excitement level hit its apex in the first game when everyone was still very optimistic, and then it's dwindled, relatively speaking. I mean, they're still the biggest games in this jurisdiction, and it's not even close. But the game today probably didn't quite have the same juice that the Belgium game did when both teams were 0-0.
Be interested to see when we talk to you next week what the handle's like through the as we begin the knockout phase of the tournament. Corey, I hope we're going to see your good-looking mug live next week. Go back to the party, and as always, thanks for the time and the knowledge.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. Corey Travers, head trader at PointsBet Canada. Anything you want to react to what he had to say?
Sounds about right. I think the hype with Canada and then the near draw against Belgium.
Had everybody pumped, and then boy, did that crash down to earth. After the, by halftime, it was
yeah,
right, because they were up 1-0 early and then down 2-1.
Yeah, I think we also need to clarify. Canada was a favorite to get a result against Croatia and Morocco. They were underdogs in both games, but the other team was only about 40% to win. They were about 25% to win and 35% to get a tie. So twice they were like 60-40 favorites to get a result, and they failed. So the betting markets expected a lot more from Canada, and they really disappointed in this tournament in all three games, especially the last two.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think they were in a pretty tough group, although I think we saw that Belgium was not up to the standard of their world ranking, which was number 2 going into the tournament, because they're going home, right? I mean, they're done.
What, Morocco and Croatia are awesome.
Croatia was in the final 4 years ago.
The team. I mean, it's funny that we're pretending Canada.
But Morocco acquitted themselves well, and a lot of people felt that they were, being shortchanged. And they proved that they're a pretty solid team. Again, I think people that, Belgium was projected higher than where they really were. There was a lot of talk that this was their last shot, right, with this group, right? They were all getting up in age and et cetera.
The truth is Canada was lucky. The favorites to win this, Brazil, Argentina, France, Spain, England, Portugal, Netherlands, none of them were in our group. No. Croatia's the 8th favorite. So we somehow got an old team that was on the downside.
Belgium was the game they should have won.
And 2 okay middle-of-the-pack teams. So our grouping was actually weak, and we underperformed. It was pretty much a very sad World Cup performance by Canada.
We're not quite ready for prime time. Well,
no, we're not.
They got 4 years to get ready because, right, as far as I understand it, they'll be in it in 4 years.
Yeah,
as
you
one of
get
the
an
host
auto in it.
countries.
Yeah, but you don't want to be the Qatar
No.
of the World Cup.
All right, let's get to football. We got to get to the games. We're doing it all together today. We'll start with the early games, and for the early games anyway, instead of me choosing, I did, right? I like to highlight the better games or spreads that caught my eye or whatever the case may be. I'm actually going to try and guess the games that you might make a play on.
You can try.
So I'm going, the two games I thought that you might have some action on are Cleveland at Houston.
Ding, 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 ding. I'm impressed. Yeah.
The other one,
That's
that's the only one. The other one was Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Just, again, random. I'm trying to think like you now. I'm trying to get in your professional gambling head.
So my head says.
Hold on. The best game, I should point out, at 1 o'clock is the Titans at the Eagles. Eagles are now a 4.5-point favorite. That's down from 5.5. Total's 44.5. But jumping back to the game that you're going to talk about, it's the Deshaun Watson return game. And not only is he making his debut with the Browns, it's in Houston, right? Like, how about that for scheduling, the way the suspension went and everything else? Browns, 7-point favorite, total 46.5. What are you looking at?
The Texans are brutal. Awful.
Worst team in the league.
Gross. They're disgusting. But they're plus 240 at home to the Browns. To me, the Browns are a mediocre team. They're coming off that big win versus Tampa.
Overtime.
The whole Deshaun Watson thing is a little strange. I don't trust the Browns to win any road game 70% of the time. So I'm going to take the Texans to win it outright. Woo! I'm risking 0.4 units to win 0.96 units.
Right. You said they're plus what on the money line?
240.
Wow. So you're taking the Texans to win outright. You're not taking the touchdown.
No.
Wow. That's gutsy. But I knew you were going to be on. I don't know why I knew, but I just had a feeling.
Are you going to guess my other game?
Well, for the late in prime time, I was going to, and there's there's four Eastern kickoffs. There's two marquee matchups. So if I had to guess, you're going to be on one of the Seahawks at Rams or the Chargers at the Raiders.
Neither of those.
Oh, okay. So then good. Then let me do my thing on the others.
Go for it.
4:05 kickoff. Loving this one. The 8-3 Miami Dolphins at San Fran to take on the 7-4 Niners.
Yeah.
I love this game because this is going to be a real test for Tua, right? Who's been lighting it up
against a very tough defense on the road.
Right.
Trying to avenge Marino for his Super Bowl loss to Montana.
No, but the other really interesting wrinkle in this game is the coaching matchup. Mike McDaniel, protege of Mike Shanahan. He was the offensive coordinator last 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 or 2 years in San Fran. And so very, very interesting when it comes to the coaches. I will say one thing about the 49er defense, which is a lot healthier. The one really dynamic offense they went up against this year early was the Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes lit them up.
Yes,
because they've had they've given up, they got a shutout last week.
Yeah.
They've been giving up nothing, but they also had a bunch of guys down for a while. In any case, the Niners are a 4-point favorite, and the total is 46.5. You on this one?
No.
All right. So let's get to the 9-2 Kansas City Chiefs at Cincinnati. Take on the 7-4 Bengals. It's a 4:25 kickoff. The Bengals beat the Chiefs twice last year, including in the AFC Championship game. And they're getting Jamar Chase back after a month off with an injury, and Joe Mixon, who missed last week. So they're getting back to better health. Bengals got a big win at Tennessee a week ago. Chiefs also coming off a win. And the Chiefs are a 1.5-point favorite, and the total is 53. What do you got for me?
I got no bet in that game.
Oh,
I did the
you're
prime.
going prime time.
Yeah, who's playing Sunday night?
You know who's playing
two
Sunday
mediocre
night.
teams?
No.
Tee it up for me.
A shitty team and a good team.
Tee it up.
4-7-1 Indianapolis Colts at Dallas take on the 8-3 Cowboys. It's your Sunday nighter. So Jeff Saturday right now is fitting right in with the coaching fraternity.
Yeah, he apologized. He did the same stupid thing the Broncos coach did. He defended his dumb decision, and then he apologized
next day
and said it was wrong. So it's like
Doesn't know how to call timeouts, manage the clock.
Yes,
I
correct.
could go on for hours. I'm not going to. You caught on to the point I was making, how he's fitting in with the coaching fraternity. Colts lose Monday night at home to the Steelers, while the boys rode a big second half to that Thanksgiving win over the Giants, where they didn't cover. They got backdoored. Maher missed a late field goal, and then the Giants got it counts for nothing but the spread and go over the total.
Mm-hmm.
So bettors were certainly paying close attention to that last Giant drive. Cowboys are currently an 11-point favorite, totals 43.5.
So obviously the Colts looked awful on Monday night. I think that's fresh.
You're zagging.
It's fresh in the bettor's mind, and the line's a little inflated.
100%. Line is definitely inflated.
I'm going to take them on the money line, though.
The Colts?
The Colts are plus 375.
Ooh.
And that, to me, is a big price. Jorey, you're a Cowboys fan. Are you confident the Cowboys are winning?
Is it a lock?
Are you confident the Cowboys are winning this game over 80% of the time?
80% no.
Well, that's the number.
I'd say my confidence level is probably closer to about 65.
Okay, well, then it's a phenomenal bet. Even at 75, 80%, it's a good bet. I think the Colts are...
It's football.
The Colts are a decent enough team that they show signs and sparks of goodness. Dallas shows some sparks of mediocreness. So if there's the Venn diagram overlap plus 375, I like it, even though their division looks good. I'm going to risk 0.3 units to win 1.13 units on the Colts.
Okay. The only thing I will say is Matt Ryan is 100 years old. Well, maybe not quite, but close.
Close.
He's not mobile.
Not at all.
Pass rush could be a nightmare. To me, that's the key to this game.
And they have to be able to run the ball.
Right. If they can't run, it's lights out.
It could be the end. It could be Matty, not Ice, but Matty Night. Yeah.
Matty Night is what it could be. The Monday Nighter, not a great matchup. Teddy talked a little bit about it. The 4-8 New Orleans Saints at Tampa to take on the 5-6 Bucks.
I mean, it's relevant because in that pathetic NFC South, that's like a prime time.
This is a divisional game, as you point out.
Yeah, and it's a prime time match.
I saw this and I didn't get a chance, to double check it. The Saints were shut out last week. If I read it correctly, and so don't jump on me if I'm wrong, but I saw that it's like the first time they've been shut out in like over 300 games.
Well, a shutout is rare in the NFL.
Well, especially, right? Don't forget they had 15 years of Drew Brees, right? And Sean Payton.
That always helps.
That's nuts. And the Bucks blew that late lead, and also frickin' Todd Bowles doesn't know how to call a timeout, and his explanation was a joke.
That made no sense.
What the fuck is wrong with these coaches?
I can't explain it.
So before we get back to this game, if I were an owner of an NFL team, in the interview process, I would actually set aside 30 minutes to talk and actually show game film and quiz them about when to use timeouts.
Yeah. There should be a basic
100%.
A basic multiple
We can create it if you want.
We could create it.
Anyway, the Bucks, not surprising. I think the line's about right, are a 4-point favorite, and the total is low, which is justifiable because neither of these teams do a whole lot on offense.
Yeah.
It's 40.5.
Yeah, I don't have a play, but it seems about right.
All right, so let's talk tonight.
I
force you to make a same-game parlay, so I know that's coming.
That is coming.
It's the 8-3 Buffalo Bills at New England to take on the 6-5 Patriots in an AFC East matchup. Bills found a way to win late at Detroit. On Thanksgiving, the early Thanksgiving, good game.
Yeah.
Second win in 5 days at Ford Field. Now they're on the road, third time in 12 days at New England. While the Pats, who also played Thanksgiving, they were the late game at night. That was also a great, fun game to watch, losing at Mini in arguably their best offensive performance of the year, but their defense was coming off a crazy string of allowing nothing, and Cousins and the Vikes took them to task. So the Bills, as you heard Corey talk about, opened as a 5.5-point favorite. Now it's down to 3.5, and the total's 43.5. So I'm really intrigued to know what your same game parlay is going to be. Oh, or if you have a play on the game.
Okay, so my take is obviously Belichick is going to try to slow down Allen. He's sick of getting decimated by Allen. I'm going to give him enough credit that he'll kind of maybe almost think of a way. So I'm going to bet the under in the game, which is 43.5. And my same game parlay, I'm going to parlay the under with over 50.5 rushing yards for Bills running back Devin Singletary. I think that plays out nicely. The Bills will try to run the ball and have the ability to run the ball because they're going to try to stop Allen and key in on Allen.
And they've started to use Singletary more. And I have to tell you, he has really impressed me in the last 4 or 5 weeks. He's been really good. He seems to have found his footing in the league because he's shown a lot of talent. He's running really well. They're using him a little more as a receiver. And to your point, Sean McDermott, the head coach of the Bills, taking a lot of flack for basically riding Josh Allen so hard, right?
Yeah.
Like he's basically like 80% of their yardage,
running
rushing,
the ball
passing,
and stuff. Yes, for
they
sure.
gotta spread the wealth. He's got the bad elbow. Like they need him.
Totally.
So I like that. I like that play. In fact, what's if you can look up Singletary's receiving yard prop?
I can look that up for you, but I'll just tell you my
So
parlay
it's
pays
under 43.5 in the game and over 50.5 rushing yards for Singletary pays
plus 260. Risk 0.4 units, win 1.04 units.
All right. And nothing else on the game, just that?
I got nothing else on the game.
While you're looking up Singletary's receiving yards prop and his rushing and receiving total yards, because I like that as well. Was there anything else on the board while you're looking that up, whether it be college football conference championships, World Cup, NHL, NBA, anything else you want to make a play today?
I got college football and World Cup for you.
Shit, you're loaded to bear.
I got 2 picks.
Loaded for bear.
I got 2 college football picks.
Okay.
So USC and TCU are both playing those must-win games to get into the playoffs.
Pac-12, Big 12 championship games, respectively.
They're only small favorites, despite kind of having the better records, the better look. The USC has the sexy quarterback. TCU's undefeated. They're playing a solid Utah and Kansas State team, and the lines are sub-3. So that shows me that the lines are trying to push you to bet the favorites. So I'll take the dogs, and I'm going to bet them outright to win. I like Utah plus 125, and I like Kansas State plus 115. I'll risk a unit of value on each of them.
K-State's what? Plus
115.
And that's 1 unit on each.
1 unit.
Wow, going with the dogs. You're looking for college football playoff chaos is what you're looking for.
Chaos is what I'm looking for you. Devin Singletary's receiving yards, 15.5. The over is even money, no juice.
I'm playing that for a unit.
That's your play, 1 unit.
So I got Singletary over what? 15.5 receiving yards?
Yeah.
I like it. And what's his combined? I'm making a play. First time in a while.
His combined is 65.5.
So I'm going 1 unit. Interesting. Well, so it's straight up 65.5.
Yeah,
sometimes when you look at that,
I know it depends on the skews or how it works.
Right? Sometimes the rushing receipt, like the rushing here, it's 50.5 plus 15.5, simple math. But sometimes that number doesn't always equate when you look at both.
I hear you.
Right? So I'll go with the over receiving yards. You got the over rushing yards. We're looking for a big day from Devin Singletary of the Buffalo Bills. What's your World Cup play?
I'm taking a shot with Senegal to upset England at 6-1.
Woo!
I think
Senegal plus 600. So that is regulation.
Yes. They got
That's
win
a
in
regulation win,
That's
not
a
to
three-way
advance.
line, not to advance. And
Senegal
not even
plus
to win
600
in
to
additional
win
extra
in
time,
reg.
like overtime. Yes.
Sorry?
Even if it goes into like the 100th minute and they score
No,
then,
not
it doesn't
extra
matter.
time.
Yeah.
Not you're talking
After
that
90
right.
minutes,
Then it's
if
called
they go into the
overtime.
overtime, even if they win then, it's not a win for me.
Right, as Teddy talked about.
Senegal's got to win in the first 90 minutes of this game.
90. It's generally now plus 10,
10,
right?
They allowed
this
it
tournament.
for this World Cup, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
England struggled, to me, against mediocre opponents like England and Wales.
You mean like U.S. and Wales?
Sorry, like U.S. and Wales. Senegal's looked pretty good. 6-1 to me seems like a big price. I'll risk 0.2 units to win 1.2 units.
All right. So, before you recap all your picks and mine, I made one today.
Yes, you
Hallelujah. PointsBet wants you to enjoy your gambling experience, but if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call the Connex Ontario helpline at 1-866-531. That's 1-866-531-2600. I always have to say it slow. Or message PointsBet's amazing customer support, and they will help you personally. So,
Picks.
recap the picks. And
Jorey's
don't forget,
pick tonight is Singletary, the Bills running back, going over 15.5 receiving yards, 1 unit, even money. Hopefully he can work his way down, start chipping down to down 3.07. He's down 4.07 right now. I entered the week up 2.42 units.
You got a lot of plays.
I got a lot of plays this week. I got a same game parlay tonight on under 43.5 points. And for the Bills running back Singletary to get over 50.5 yards, I'm risking
rushing yards.
I'm risking 0.4 units to win 1.04 units. I'm taking the Dogs in 2 huge college football conference championships. Utah plus 125 for a unit and Kansas State plus 115 for a unit.
And just to interrupt there, right? You're kind of, I mean, obviously you want to win both, but you're hoping for a split because a split, you're still a winner.
Correct. I'm making 10% of my money with a split. I expect close games.
Yeah. Okay.
In the NFL on Sunday, I'm on the Texans to upset the Browns plus 240. I'll risk 0.4 units to win 0.96 units. And then the Colts plus 375 to upset Dallas, risking 0.3 units to win 1.13 units. Finally, Sunday World Cup action. I'm taking a huge upset shot with Senegal to beat England. In regulation, it's 6-1, risking 0.2 units to win 1.2 units.
That's a lot of plays.
A lot of plays.
Next week, it'll be NFL week number 14. It'll be more World Cup. Maybe we'll start looking ahead, but I think we'll be a little premature for college bowl games. But college bowl season is around the corner.
Yeah, it will be.
And we may have some more NHL, NBA. You never know. A gambling story of the week. We always have little, as Harley called them today, tidbits to pass along as they relate to sports wagering.
And just one addition that I think we got to mention, and this is funny because I don't think anybody at the AGCO ever imagined this, but their decision to pull the UFC made news on ESPN in the US because this is kind of match fixing and it's a big deal. So, I mean, the AGCO is going to be in the spotlight, and they had some good reasoning about the rules at UFC not being as tight as they should be with disclosing information and insiders. If other jurisdictions follow, AGCO seems like a true leader. If nobody else does, and then they buckle in a week for whatever reason or cosmetic, then they don't. So time will tell, and we'll see how this plays out.
We have thank yous, several today.
To Jordan.
Of course, we always start with our producer, Jordan LaRoche. Thank you, sir. Our great host at the bottom line. Again, come down, check it out, say hi, right on Front Street, downtown TO, right beside the Hockey Hall of Fame. We say thank you to Corey Travers, head trader at PointsBet Canada, and Teddy Greenstein, head honcho at The Hustle, among his other titles at PointsBet USA. We thank you for listening and watching, and remind you, check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Rate, review, subscribe. Reach out to us on Twitter, at Jory Middle, at Sharp Edge Picks. You can email us, playon@pointsbet.ca. You can follow us on Twitter. We want you to follow PointsBet Canada. And if you're in Ontario and 19 or over, open an account and play. But of course, play responsibly. And so, as I like to say each and every week, for Harley, I'm Jorey. May all your picks be winners, ours too. We'll talk to you next week for another edition of Play On with Jorey and Harley, powered by PointsBet. Enjoy a good one tonight and a busy sports weekend, and hopefully you're going to be stay in the positive and up that total, Harley.
We'll watch the games and we'll see, but there are no locks.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Enjoy, guys.